Hey guys, so I know a lot of you now are probably in the process of writing your personal statements, and given that I've written two, successful personal statements for my biomedical sciences and now for medicine, I wanted to actually walk through my medical personal statement with all of you to show you kind of how I structured it and what I think is the best method to kind of go about it. So I'll first walk you through my personal statement, each paragraph at a time and each section at a time. So I'll end with the big take-home messages after my walkthrough, so make sure you stick to the end. If you're not a medical student, I do think that a lot of these tips still apply to you, so keep watching. And yeah, let's get to it. First things first, do not start with the introduction. The introduction is really important to kind of set the tone for the whole of the personal statement, the essay. So I really recommend you start with the first paragraph. So let's start with the first paragraph. And for me, this paragraph is extremely important to show how you have taken action to show that you are interested in this in said profession or medicine. So the key point should be in the first sentence. And for me, I'd organized placements at a hospital and a GP. And so that is the first sentence I put, talking about how I took the initiative to set up these experiences for myself. After that, you really want to go over the key things that you saw and learned from those experiences. You really want to end with reflecting on these experiences and some of the key skills that you picked up on as extremely important for the medical profession. So here I highlighted the importance of communication between different staff members in a hospital, as well as the need for different healthcare professionals to come together to help the patients ultimately. After you've talked about some extremely valuable work experience or internship that you've done, you want to then move on and connect that to another experience that you've done. So for me, this was volunteering at an old age home for terminally ill patients in India. Obviously, you kind of want this to flow with good English, so I kind of linked my previous paragraph, which I was talking about birth, to how I saw death in this terminally ill home. And again, the structure that you should maintain is describe briefly what you did, and then reflect on the skills that you saw and gained from that experience, and then connect that again in the conclusion to how that can make you a better medical student or a better doctor. So again, here I described what I did and connected those experiences to the skill of empathy and how that can help patients. Continuing on, following that thread of volunteering, I now talk about the service that I've done throughout my high school and university days. And again, I describe what I've done. So here it was teaching kids who are refugees, and then the skills that I developed by doing this activity. So for me here, this is time management, as well as leadership and communication skills. And again, if you want to take this to the higher level, you connect those skills back to medicine. So here I mentioned how helping others really drew me closer to the medical profession, because essentially that is what medicine's all about. Now, towards the end of your personal statement, you want to talk a bit more about your academics and your extracurriculars, of course. And here I mentioned quickly a couple of internships that I took part in that kind of got me experienced in different fields in science, but that were related to medicine, such as research and academics. This is unlikely that you're going to have these kind of experiences as a high school student or A-level student. Here you can really talk about perhaps a biology class that you've taken or a chemistry class, or some kind of academic course that has made you feel more inclined to do medicine. So now moving on to the last section, which is the extracurricular section. A lot of people don't really pay attention to this, but it is an extremely important section. It's extremely important to have other interests, be able to socialize, as well as maintain that pure academic performance. So here I mentioned a book that I found really interesting, and it coincidentally kind of links to medicine, so it works. Moving on from that, I talk about how piano, tennis, exercise has helped me de-stress. And that is something that you should really mention. How are you going to, manage a work-life balance when you're a doctor or a medical student? You need some kind of outlet that is in medicine to help you with, balancing life and creating a good dynamic. And for me, it was genuinely tennis or exercise. I highly recommend don't lie about this. If you haven't been doing anything that, involves, like playing an instrument or doing a sport or, some kind of art or hobby, don't lie about it. You must have something that, you really enjoy, that kind of use as a distraction from work and academics. If that's playing video games or if that's reading, then, put that in, be honest. And really be honest about how that has helped you. You can't really be wrong in this section. You just have to kind of elaborate and reflect on your reasonings. And if you have any awards, I got a couple of awards at King's. I just mentioned them in a short, brief statement. Again, you don't want to just talk about what you did, but reflect how you can bring these skills into the medical career. And now we're on to the conclusion. This, like the introduction, I think is one of the key parts of the personal statement. If you've done everything right up until now, the conclusion, you really need to kind of sum it all up. It's like the cherry on top. Again, I would highly recommend you ending with a personal note. You want to create a sense of empathy and compassion from the reader and the admissions officer. So the way I tackled this was what it was like to live with medical students and some of the challenges I saw. You could do this with a doctor or a GP or a nurse that you shadowed. And then really showing gratefulness for these experiences and the work that doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals do. I like to end with a note of confidence. You want to show the admissions officer that you are confident that you are the right person for this role and for this career. You want to highlight why you are the perfect candidate for this. You want to show them that you have the right skills that you've developed through various experiences, as well as the smarts, but also the mindset and approach that is perfect for a medical student, which will make you a successful doctor. So now let's go back to the introduction. And in my opinion, obviously, like I mentioned, this is probably one of the most important sections, because if the admissions officer starts reading your thing and isn't interested, they're probably not going to get through most of it, or probably not really going to care about what you've written. So the main point I wanted to emphasize with the introduction is make sure it is engaging and it really hooks the reader in. And the best way I know to do this is to use a personal anecdotal experience that has really motivated you to study medicine. So for me, it was volunteering with HIV-infected children when I was 13 years old. And I got to see the impact that the disease had biologically, but also socioeconomically. What's important then is after you've kind of talked about this anecdotal experience, you then want to link that to how it's relevant. So for me, it showed me the importance of advancements in medicine and research to help people with HIV, for example, and some of the other traits of medicine, such as lifelong learning and helping others improve their lives. Those are the kind of aspects or attributes of medicine that I kind of gained from this experience. So ultimately, you want to tell the admissions officer that you have seen these important skills, such as lifelong learning, improving lives, compassion, empathy, in these healthcare scenarios. And experiences that you've had have led you to make that decision that medicine is the career path for you. So again, finish off your essay with the introduction. You really want it to flow. If you start with a hook and an anecdote and then never talk about any of your other experiences throughout the essay, that really doesn't make sense and doesn't work. So make sure there's a kind of theme going through. I just want to mention a disclaimer that although I do think that this is a good personal statement and I've had success with it, there's no one way to write it. So make it your own. But I do feel that there are a few things that are really important to keep in mind and that all successful personal statements have in common. Right, so hopefully that walkthrough of my personal statement that I wrote for medicine was helpful. I think the main takeaway for all of you listening in and writing a personal statement is that the key skill to show off is reflection. The way you should structure all of your paragraphs, maybe not the introduction or the conclusion, is state the experience that you've had or that you initiated or that you kind of organized for yourself. Show that initiative. After that, you talk about the skills that you either saw doctors do or the skills that you gained from doing a volunteering experience or hands-on paramedics, something like that. And then end with a connection to how that is extremely useful for medicine or becoming a doctor or a nurse or somewhere in the healthcare field. What you're doing with that structure is showing that you can reflect on the experiences that you've had and apply that knowledge that you've gained for future use when you're a medical student or a doctor. I actually remember one of the interviewers actually mentioned that the way I had structured two of my paragraphs and linked them together was extremely powerful. So do keep in mind that people do read these, and if you don't do a good job, it does make a difference. So really put your best foot forward. And again, remember, reflection is key. And I think I did a decent job of that in my personal statement. So go back and pause at different sections so you can kind of read the paragraphs and digest the kind of structure that I laid out. So yeah, good luck, and let me know if you need any help in the comments below or on my Instagram, and thanks for watching.